Hospitals are meant to heal, but what happens when they cause harm instead as a result of negligence? Hi, my name is Uche Namadi, and you're welcome to the HealthWise show. Today, we are talking about hospital negligence and the thin line between trust and tragedy in healthcare. This is not about putting fear in us, but it's about awareness and accountability. I will not be doing this alone. I have with me here my amazing co-hosts, Dr. Lani Yowe,
Thank you.
coming from the medical angle as usual, and Miss Patsy Mukunga,
Thank you.
your regular Nigerian girl who wants
Just the girl.
who wants the truth and nothing but the truth about health-related issues. So please do not forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow SYNLAB Nigeria on YouTube and on Spotify. So Patsy will actually read a true story for us, after which we'll break it down carefully and draw practical lessons that will help you or your loved one. So stay with us, because when it comes to healthcare, we should not settle for mediocrity. Over to you, Patsy.
Okay. This story is kind of heavy. It's pretty heavy.
I saw it before now.
The heading says, "How my brother lost his first child to clinical negligence."
Oh my God.
So let's get into it. It says here, Chika and Emeka are first-time parents living in Port Harcourt. Their baby boy was born at term following an uncomplicated pregnancy and delivery. Both mother and child were discharged home in stable condition within a few days of birth. On the third day after discharge, while bathing her baby, the mother noticed a yellow discoloration of the baby's eyes. At the time, the baby appeared otherwise well, feeding adequately and sleeping normally. The parents assumed this might be a normal change in newborn skin color. By the fourth day of life, the yellow discoloration had progressed and was now visible on the baby's skin. Concerned, the parents presented to a healthcare facility. The baby was briefly examined by a doctor who reassured the parents that the condition was not serious and advised them to go home and continue observing the child. No laboratory investigations were ordered, and no follow-up plan or warning signs were clearly communicated. 2 days later, the baby's condition deteriorated. He became lethargic, fed poorly, and had a weak cry. The yellow discoloration had deepened significantly. Alarmed, the parents rushed him back to the hospital. On arrival at the emergency unit, the baby was critically ill. Despite urgent intervention, he died shortly after presentation. So this is our story. Like I said, very, very heavy. And
This is heavy.
yeah. And it deals with something that is otherwise, or should be, I don't think should be a problem in today's world. Jaundice.
I quite agree.
Right?
I quite agree with you.
It's something that is like should have where we are medically in the world. I don't think jaundice should be killing babies anymore.
Sorry, I have a problem with the baby was briefly examined. Who briefly examines a newborn baby?
A doctor without time to spare.
Yeah, even if you did that, I mean, the least you could do was to order for investigations and test.
You now reassure the parents that they should go.
I think
that's the
sometimes, and Dr. Way, you're here, and I feel like sometimes doctors feel like you're being dramatic. You know, especially maybe newborn mothers tend to be dramatic.
First time moms, right?
They do tend to every little thing they're
we are calling the family doctor.
They've never been through this, and this is like the most precious thing to them.
This person may have been a first time mom.
Yeah, it's a first time, their first child, and so maybe I feel like maybe she was dismissed based on. You're being dramatic. It's probably they didn't even look at that child too well.
Well, for me, honestly, I think this is not usual. This is not usual, and what I mean by that is, an average doctor wouldn't really do that. Now, I'm not a pediatrician, but then I was properly trained. While you were reading, a lot of things kept coming through to my mind. I could remember those days in medical school in EPU as interns. I mean, we had I don't know if it was like an unwritten policy every newborn child, we were even told, every doctor knows about physiologic jaundice, the non-physiologic jaundice. Everybody knows, everybody should know, and every doctor should actually know at what point in time is physiologic, the timing, as well as the level of the bilirubin, and all that. So, and different types of jaundice and the different levels of jaundice, how you will manage different levels. Either you're going to do a phototherapy or you're going to do an exchange blood transfusion. So, I could still remember all that, even despite the fact that I've not really done any. Yes. So for me, there's a whole lot of question there that keeps coming to my mind. That at least, it was like a starter pack where I trained any newborn baby. You do a serum bilirubin. Basically, you do that and then you review. And then because everybody knew at the point where this child cannot go home, you need to place this child on phototherapy. But at what point where you need to do an exchange transfusion. So for me, it's a starter pack. A newborn child.
The problem with starter packs, is that, and this is not just in the medical profession, beyond the medical profession, basic things tend to get neglected over time. You get too familiar with them.
It doesn't work like that in medicine. It doesn't work like that in medicine,
but
because
people do it. I've seen on social media when nurses were talking about how they skip something, in their routine checks where you go in the morning, you do your rounds, and it's like they don't because they don't do all those basic things.
Not jaundice in a child, because you know that that jaundice, if it's left untreated, that child could actually have permanent damage to the brain.
Dr. Way,
yes.
Let me digress a bit. Or let me stay on you a bit on this jaundice. Why are babies always checked for jaundice? How do they come about that high level of bilirubin?
Okay. Normally when babies are born, they are born pink or red.
Yeah, yes.
And usually I can remember in school, my lecturer then would say, the baby must be pink, the baby must be sweet, the baby must be aseptic, the baby must be warm, and things like that. So you have to check for the color when a newborn is born, because normally a normal, should be. And the reason why is they usually have a higher level of the higher blood level than every other person, because they're actually coming from the PCV is usually higher, because they are coming from an environment where they are not very much exposed to oxygen. You understand? So the body needs to produce more red blood cells to be able to carry the oxygen. So that's why they actually have a little bit of. So when they are born, you check for that color. So they're expected to be pink. So, and once that happens, and then the baby gets exposed to an environment where at least the oxygen tension is higher, there's not much need for that high level of, red blood cells. So the body breaks them down naturally. So the body will break it down naturally. And bilirubin, the byproduct of that breakdown is what, gives that yellow color. You understand? And then that's what you would say, okay, physiological, jaundice and things like that. But then, but you must measure. It's not just by looking. So you must measure. I don't really quite remember the exact value you give, but then there's a measurement. So that's why I said it's a starter pack. So you must measure. So if your baby is born, and then the level of bilirubin is actually higher than that range, that's not physiologic anymore. And then you need to start treatment, and then you need to also do further investigations to actually find out the cause. But then you can decide to place the patient on phototherapy. That's under light, rather, based on the level of bilirubin. So there are certain levels where you place the child under light. There are certain levels that you start preparing to exchange the baby's blood. The danger is if the bilirubin level gets so high, it has ability, especially the part that is not conjugated. Sorry for those, it can cross into the brain and then damage the brain permanently. So it's not something that...
And this can happen in a very short period of time.
Yeah, so these are things that we don't... I'm not a pediatrician, but I still remember these things.
The time is of the essence.
So now if, you discharged a newborn, and then 3 days later, the mother came back and said there was yellowness of the eyes. I actually think, at that particular point in time, you should...
I feel like this is so basic, because I'm not a medical personnel, and even I know that in babies, if there's yellowness of the eye or the skin, something should be checked. Like, I know
Yeah.
that just from being around children.
And you
So
know,
it's crazy that a medical professional did not pick up on this at all.
and honestly, just to add, sometimes even without getting the result, once a pediatrician or a doctor sees that, oh, this child is, because they're supposed to check the color. So the child is supposed to be red. I think you're seeing some tinge of yellowness. In fact, in some places, they would even start phototherapy immediately. You understand? Because that light that you put the baby under, bilirubin is photolabile. That means light breaks it down. You understand? Such that it doesn't have the ability to cross into this. So, that's why I said it's like a starter pack thing. So, your ability to observe, even before you do a test, once you observe and then you see that, oh, there's yellowness of the eyes, really, even before you get a result, you put the baby, on the light, just to, ensure that you prevent.
Because there's no adverse
They will
effect
tell you that the first thing you
light.
do as a doctor is do no harm.
Yeah,
Do you
I like what you
understand?
said, and I would
Yes.
like to say kudos to those hospitals who actually jump at the slightest,
Yeah,
rise of the
exactly.
bilirubin level. Because I could remember my first child had a bilirubin of, I can't remember the exact value, but I checked and it was within reference range, but it was towards the high side. So, being a medical, I decided to show my intelligence. I said, doctor, we have to go. This is normal. Doctor said, no. We have to put your child under observation. And if we must let you go, if we must let you go, that child has to go under the sunlight every morning sun.
Yeah.
48
that's a good
hours,
one.
and then come back to the hospital. Let's check again. Let's test again. And that's what I did. And then we came back, we checked, and he had already dropped. So it makes a lot of sense when you explained how the PCV, the blood breaks down,
Exactly.
and then. But I'm now worried because at what point do we see poor clinical judgment as negligence? Because that's what is playing out here.
I think it's
Because the mom came, you briefly checked the child, and you said, go. It is nothing.
Without even counseling.
Probably it will clear.
okay.
And they told you that there was a yellowing, right?
Yellow, yes. They said there was a yellowing.
And then,
There's a duty, and I'm going to say this using maybe like from a legal aspect.
Yeah.
There's a duty, and a duty presupposes a standard. Do you understand? So I'm sure that for doctors, the way he said that there are some things that are, I can't remember the
Starter
term
packs.
he used.
Like,
Yes,
yeah,
that's starter pack.
that's-
That is a standard. That's a duty. Do you understand? So once you've deviated from that duty, it becomes negligence, right? You have a duty of care. You have a duty to your patient to make sure you eliminate all possibility. Do you get? So the point is, if the tables flip and something happens to the child, the story should read that you did everything that you were supposed to do,
Everything you
could.
could do.
right?
That you could.
That
And
you could possibly do.
In spite of that, something happened.
Yes.
So it should not look like there was something you should have done. Something. I think what is very painful about stories like this is that this is something basic. When it's something complex, we can now be understanding that, oh yeah, it was complex. It was something terrible. But
legally speaking, do you think hospitals should be legally punished for avoidable newborn deaths?
absolutely. Avoidable everything, in fact.
She's probably looking for hospitals
Barrister
to sue.
Patrick,
not
guys,
necessarily.
calming down.
Okay,
No,
fair enough.
because this was actually avoidable.
Yes,
That's why
actually,
I'm
actually,
asking.
I agree
Legally,
with
should
you.
they
I
be
agree with
punished?
you.
Health law is one of my favorite aspects of law, right?
Why won't it be?
It's very, it's very,
Because
very
you're looking for
lovely.
doctors to put behind
Not
bars.
necessarily. And I say this, and I am very empathetic towards doctors because you have such a sensitive job, right? And you're dealing with human life. A lot of things could go wrong, but we actually have to hold doctors to a very, very high standard. And doctors, the hospital they are working in, the medical profession as a whole, everybody needs to be acting like soldier. Do you understand?
Yeah, up and doing.
You need that level of military precision because you are handling human life.
Right.
That's why I don't like hearing things in the medical profession where doctors are overworked. Doctors are underpaid. Do you understand? Even being
That could actually affect.
Yeah,
it does.
But then,
Underpaid, overworked, and at the end of the day, the painful thing, these things will still not even be an excuse, you know,
That's what I was
For
going to
yeah,
say.
mediocrity.
well, no, when, yes, because when somebody has died, if they sue you, like, by the time you are going to just be you go explain tire. Do you understand? We're not going to be dragging. Was it not? You get. Why should we let it get to that level? And no matter how many excuses you want to give, at the end of the day, you have to do your job well, right? You can't give what do you want to say? I did not have enough time, so somebody died. There were a lot of patients waiting for me.
Do you know that
Do
I'm
it-
aware?
do-
I'm
do
aware of
what you
some
need to do.
hospitals who that actually call for M&M meetings, morbidity mortality
I think
review meetings.
it's actually part of the training.
Wow.
It's
You know,
part of
they
it.
sit,
It's
they
like
analyze, they
medical
try
audits.
not to have
Yes.
casualties, but when they do, that one client or patients that you lost, not you, they lost, they sit and they ask, what was the rule? Everybody is sitting, not just the doctors, the scientists, the pharmacists, the nurse, the intern. Everybody is sitting. It's a meeting and they ask, what was the root cause? Could it have been prevented? When you see this type of thing again, what are the things you should do to prevent it? So I believe if hospitals have that at the back of their minds too, some of these avoidable things.
No.
will not-
Let me shed a little bit more light on that.
Okay.
There is like an in-house morbidity and mortality review, M&M, review, where even within yourself, I mean, there's a review you do to involve all the stakeholders, but even the more thorough one is actually the one you do within, the department, where you're bringing all the patients and then you're actually auditing the whole process from admission to either discharge, death, and the ones that are still in the wards, you want to find out why are still they on the ward. How many days have they spent? Has there been any improvements in, how they were, since they came in on admission? Now, not to really, just to go back a little to what she said. Now, I actually understand the fact that doctors are overworked, underpaid, and all that. But then, in this particular instance, there's really nothing specialized here. It's very, very basic. I mean, you just give an example of your own child that the doctor at least gave an important counsel. Keep the child in sunlight. Of course, you understand why that is, because it will break down. You understand? Just,
And he said,
we'll
come back and check.
And I'm very sure it was because that level was not really high.
Yeah.
So the doctor, I judged that, okay, maybe it's not necessarily to place the child or, under phototherapy. That does not require anything. Like, it does not even require you setting a line or putting the patient on oxygen or something. So I actually think in this particular case, it's very, very pathetic because it's
very basic.
Yeah,
And that's what
basic.
he's saying, that with that it's been very basic. It just shows that that's now where it becomes negligence. It was something you were supposed to do.
Well, let me even ask you, as the patients, do you think we, how do I put it now, place too much blind trust in healthcare professionals?
No.
Should parents be taught to be more aggressive? Like, when the doctor dismisses you as a patient, you're like, doctor, I know you're dismissing me. However, or I know you think I should go home, but this is how I am feeling. Because I am a fan of medical series. I used to see Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, yeah, I see.
And there was this particular patient that kept saying, I am feeling pain in my head.
Yeah, I think we've talked.
They told him to
I
take
think we
painkillers
talked
and
about
come
it
back.
at the end of
This
last
one
time.
I watched. The guy kept saying he's feeling pain. Next thing, he slumps. And that was when one doctor now moved on, So I'm thinking, are we at that level where when they tell you, okay, let's just monitor, then maybe you insist a bit, you persist a bit. Say,
I
doctor,
do believe in advocating for yourself medically.
Okay.
I'm very big on it. But again, I will stand to say that a professional is a professional for a reason, right? You should be able to trust a professional because they are the professional. Do you
Exactly.
understand? So if this woman
I
does
said
not know any,
blindly.
yes, yes, you should. What do you know about jaundice if you're a first-time mom without any?
I'm not even talking about the medical. I'm talking about how
Yes.
I know this child is not getting better. I feel that hunch, and you're telling me go and monitor.
Yeah, but you know, it depends.
Shouldn't I
Sometimes
persist? Shouldn't I be aware that I can push?
where do you put it? Because it's like if you persist, they'll tell you, but doctor has told you, and the doctor is the professional. You're not. You don't know what you're saying, right? You can say like, I know what I'm seeing, but then if the professional keeps negating you, I believe in pusho. Like, if you're watching this and you feel a thing in your body or in your child's body, fight. Go there and fight. Do you understand? But the duty of care lies on the medical professional.
No, okay. I think I was going to add another perspective to it.
Okay.
I've always maintained, and I think I usually tell the younger colleagues that we should, and I'm speaking as a doctor, and I think I'm addressing, doctors. We should also see patients as stakeholders. You understand? And I think it's time we knew this, because a whole lot of times I always tell people, I think I said it in one of our episodes, that I feel, and that's how I always practice. One of the best doctors for you is you, because you own the body. You know how as they take pain, you understand. And so for me, when a patient keeps insisting that this is my issue, doctor, this is my issue, I think, and because that's the way I practice, we should take a pause and just try as much as possible to investigate properly, even if it means collaborating. If you actually, out of ideas, you don't actually know what it is, call people, more experienced persons, or try and, refer, and okay, just let me check this patient out to see, because this patient has been coming regularly and he or she keeps saying, oh, this is what it is. So we should also see patients as stakeholders, because nowadays it's personalized medicine. Now I'm going to digress a little bit. Someone, we could all be taking antihypertensive drugs and being on the same medication, and we are not getting the same response. It may work well for me. It may just be moderately okay. It may not even work for her at all. You understand?
About to do like this.
Because
What the hell?
It was in the house.
Which three are taking antihypertensive?
In my mind.
Come on. But what I was just
No, I
trying
get
to say
you,
is it's personalized care nowadays. And that actually means that the patients are major stakeholders, in it. So
on.
Basically,
which makes me want to ask, is it fair to blame the doctor, or is the bigger failure on the healthcare system?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Both.
I think it's both.
Why do you say that?
You have a bad system, and there are bad systems everywhere. Some people would look at a negligent case like this and be like, it's Nigeria. But there's medical negligence almost everywhere. And there are hiccups in systems everywhere. Right. So I think I would say that as a doctor, no matter the system you find yourself in, make the best of the situation as much as you can. We find doctors in the Nigerian system who, trust me, they exhaust themselves. They do their job and they do their job. Like, they do their job. Their patients will tell you.
I can testify.
Right? That this person, they do their... And they're in the same failed system. Where somebody else is using that failed system as an
excuse, right? For mediocrity.
I was also going to add to this. I quite agree with her. Now, let's analyze this particular case. For me, I feel that particular doctor who made who was negligent, rather, in this case, most likely would be a junior doctor. So, well, yeah, if you're properly, if you are properly trained, I mean, these things you should know. But then, how on earth will, now this is where I'm talking about systemic. This is where I actually want to talk about systemic failure. How on earth will that kind of doctor be making that kind of a decision? I mean, there should have been a system, independently. Thank you very much. Wow. There should have probably been a system where at least there's somebody senior that should, see within the system, in that kind of situation. Another thing that actually underlined the systemic failure is the fact that probably was overworked. He probably just wanted to dismiss them. He did not even check, he just looked at the child, and then first look was like, this child doesn't look bad now. Go home. You understand? And sometimes in cases like this, I was discussing with you earlier that I'd allowed to take a child outside before to check for jaundice in the sunlight. Because I wasn't very convinced that the child was not really jaundice.
You see that little difference?
You get
that little extra that he
the
needs.
system.
So those are the things.
bad system.
So now the system, in that regard, but for the doctor, for me, just as she had rightly said, that's not an excuse for bad practice.
Let me even ask you.
that's not an
Speaking of
excuse for bad practice.
a system that I don't want to say that has failed, but speaking of the system, the
system
health
that can get
system
better.
that can get
Yes, that
thank
can
you
get better.
that can
That's
get
the
better.
The system
What
that
do we
can
have
get
to
better.
say about hospitals? This one is digressing a bit now. Hospitals that ask for the down payment before treatment starts.
Okay, sorry. In my experience, I don't have much experience. I'm a very small girl. But like usually, they will say there's never smoke without fire, right? And whenever I see such extreme
Stand.
you have to sometimes ask yourself what the people have seen.
I've said exactly.
You would go to hospitals, ask what they've used their eye to see. Patients
I
will come
remembered.
and swear to you that they will pay. And they will run away. Patients run away.
God bless
They
you.
run away.
I'm
Like
thank-
they will finish treatment and
Thank
in the
God.
dead of
This
the
is
night.
this is
they will
coming
sneak
from a
out.
non-medical. This is
me.
coming from a
Me
non-medical.
that is asking
This
you.
is coming from a
If I tell you
non-medical
my
person.
story.
Doctors use their own money because doctors
This is
are not
coming
people
from a
without
non-medical
hearts,
person.
right?
See.
They will use their money to pay for somebody that swore they will pay back. They will run, or they will tell you. Some people can be very ungrateful. Some people will look you in the eye and tell you they are not paying you back.
But these people spoke. Sorry, let me just digress a bit. Where I served, this, I don't know if it's a Fulani headsman, but they move around with their cutlass. Or,
They are little daggers.
yeah, not even the big.
Where
You go see
did,
am.
where did you serve in Kwara?
Bashita, around
Oh.
that area, yes.
That's Niger.
No, that's actually Kwara State.
Oh, okay, maybe
Mm.
Edu,
But very
Edu-
close,
very
Edu
close.
local
Stay with
government.
that
Very
one.
close. Yes,
Edu local
exactly.
government,
Edu. So
He told me he threatened you.
he didn't threaten me. They don't hear English. So people that could speak in Hausa, they were just telling him that, okay, so he should pay this, since we've even given blood already, so he should balance up and the rest. So I think he came with somebody else. He's not the patient. And when they finished taking giving the treatment and transfusing, so I think like 48 hours later, they were ready to go. Oh yeah, Baba, pay us now. The guy speak one or two. Pay
And
us
then
now. He puts
removed.
hand there. We pick rate.
You see?
Sister, I ran. So I'm saying they even talk to you that they don't have to pay.
Okay.
This one just put hand like this. Everybody's
showed you
Some
that-
people would make
We
the
open
hospital
gates for
their
them to
home.
go.
1 month they are still there,
So,
laughing every day.
See,
and they are well.
I'm quite
you know.
I'm quite happy with some of these
Yeah, so
positions.
you don't blame them,
things
actually.
exactly coming from non-medical
But
persons.
at least if
coming
they
from
drop
her,
something,
basically.
I think they should start
My
treatment.
sister.
I don't know. I
My
don't know.
sister, we work in healthcare.
Well, my own opinion.
Think about it.
My
oh.
own opinion
If
is
they
this.
drop something, you go run test.
Wow.
Now, my own opinion is this. Yes, there is no smoke without fire. Yeah. So, and then it comes down to the ethics of the practice. You understand? Of course, do no harm, save lives, and all that. But then, as she had rightly mentioned, I mean, there are so many hospitals that are actually struggling. They're even struggling to do the basics.
And healthcare is not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Yeah.
So sometimes some of these things actually come after a thorough review, and then you've had a series, situations in the past where you have a lot of your revenue being bad debts that you're not even going to recover. You understand? And then it comes. So
Yeah.
you know,
Actually, you're
you
first a business.
Yes. So especially when you're actually in the private side of
Side of-
things,
yeah.
where but of course for the government, that. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody would
exactly.
ask. Nobody is going to ask you for that. So most of the times when you actually see people asking for a down payment, it's often in the private setups
Yes,
where,
I've seen Shege
and of course
already.
because everybody knows an average health personnel is empathetic.
Yeah. They got into the profession because they
Yeah,
want to help
empathetic.
Yes,
people.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. So
So let's not I want to, Patsy, what's your last word or your last, your closing remark on this story that you read?
I think as if you're a medical personnel out there, like don't get too familiar with the job, where you forget that you're dealing with actual human lives. Hold that duty of care very tightly to your heart, and maybe try to exhaust yourself as best as you can on your job. Bad system or not, right?
Okay.
It matters. These things, sometimes it feels like you're pouring into a bottomless jar, kind of, because you're doing so much and it seems unrecognizable. But trust me, you're patient to remember. I remember every good doctor that has gone out of their way for me. I might not be able to circle back and like give them their flowers in person, but you live in my heart. The days I remember, you live in my prayers, right? And I would always speak for you. That I have stories of
You
good
should send
doctors.
money to them too sometimes.
In this not
economy,
even lying. Do you understand? And you would remember a good doctor. You will circle back, right?
Of course.
So I think as best as you can. And also patience, fight, advocate for yourself.
Yes, so.
Really, really try. Don't be so shy and
when you say go home, you just quickly turn and go.
Take charge
home.
of your life.
Yeah.
If Dr. A doesn't listen to you, look for Dr. B, look for Dr. C. It can be exhausting, but
in the end is worth it.
I think.
Dr. Way, what do you have to say?
I think she was just trying to be very demure and all that. But anyways,
and composed with C's.
My final take-home points would be that especially as regards this particular case, as medical practitioners, we should understand that it's a calling. And of course, I understand, all the issues that we have currently in the country. I do. But of course, that's not an excuse for bad practice. So we should try as much as possible to pay more attention to our craft and, try as much as possible to leave no stone unturned, in our practice as we go about delivering, on our promise to the people that we serve. That'll be my final point.
Thank you, Dr. Way. Sadly, we have come to the end of the discussion, and I'd like to say thank you to our listeners who had stayed with us from the beginning till now. I would also like to say thank you to Miss Patsy Mukunga for bringing her points and her insights, and also to Dr. Weye for coming from the medical angle. So my take home is that healthcare systems should actually protect patients and not put them at risk. When negligence happens, it is not just an individual problem, it's a system failure. So we must demand accountability and stronger standards because people's lives depend on it. Do not forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow SYNLAB Nigeria on YouTube and on Spotify. You can also follow SYNLAB Nigeria across all social media platforms. Thank you once again for joining us. My name is Uche Namadi, and I'm signing off.